We are going to be learning more about WordPress today, as well as learning a lot more about the Elementor plugin, which is going to be your main tool for building your website. All right, so I have a website here. This is one that I had a number of students work on a few years ago as a volunteer project. I had students build different pages, and we just kind of picked what we liked the best of them. And just so we don't forget user-centered design, we want to remember to always have a hero section in which we have a headline and a photo that gets attention and makes people want to know what it is. So we got that here. All right, so let's say you owned this website. What would you do to be able to log in into that admin dashboard panel that we looked at during our first look at WordPress in part 1? Well, you simply go to your website address up here, or type it in if you haven't already typed it. Type it in if you haven't already typed it in, and after site, we're going to do a /wp-admin. All right, so that is what you are going to type in. Now, because I have logged into this site numerous times, it's bringing up all sorts of potential places that I've already logged in, and I could click on any of these to get into the admin section of my website, but I'm just going to go with this admin right now, and I am just going to simply hit the return key or the enter key on my keyboard, and this will take me to a place where I need to log in. Now, I used to have a username of Megan Moe until it was hacked. Oops. So what I actually want to do is to pull up my other passwords, and my particular computer happens to be touch activated. I have a Mac, so you'll find sometimes it has a little fingerprint that I have to enter, but now I got this, and I'm going to log in. So now I am at my dashboard, and remember, if I wanted to see what the page actually looks like, I could hover over this home and visit site. And I tell you what I'm going to do is I like to have a couple windows open when I'm working on a website. So right now I just have one window open that's at the dashboard. But if I hover over here and the visit site, I can do a right click and ask for the site itself to open in a new tab. And now I can see that home page. Now, there's another tutorial way back towards the beginning of class in which I tried to teach how to do a right click if you don't already know how to do it. See if you can find that, or you know what, simply Google it. That will be fine. All right, so now I can have my dashboard, and I can also take a look at what it looks like as a website itself. So I like that. All right, so I am going to want to create a new page that I'm going to be editing in Elementor. And again, this is the main place where I'm going to be building the blocks of each web page. It's where I'm going to be designing my web page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to pages, and I'm going to say add new page. So follow along with me. If you're not already, go ahead and follow along with me. It's going to take you to this, and I'm going to just click out of it because I don't want it. And I'm going to add a title. Now, let's say we're going to work on our home page. And so I'm going to click home in here. And just so you know, this is the name that will show up in a menu eventually when we create a menu in our WordPress.org website. So I just want to write home, and let me just say I'm not going to write home page, because who wants to see home page in a menu? We're just going to write home, make it as simple as easy as possible. I'm going to hit publish twice, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to edit with Elementor. Now, if I was wanting to do coding, and I showed you in the part 1 video a little bit about coding and what it looked like on the one site that I manage, I could code in here. I could do these wonder blocks and I could code. But this class is very much designed to not have to do coding overall. So we are going to edit with Elementor. And it will take us into Elementor. And you got a quick look at this during part 1, but I wrote that you didn't need to follow it. And here I'm going to actually just I'm going to X out of a number of the things they have here because I just find it distracting. All right, so what you'll see here on your page when you follow along with me, you're not going to have a menu up here. Now I have a menu because this is, again, a web page we've worked on and that students designed. And the menu doesn't look exactly right here because if you notice, right now, what's the website itself is only taking up about, I don't know what, 3/4 of the web page because I have this menu on the left-hand side. If I close out the menu, then I could see what this looks like. But I'm going to go back and open up this menu because I do want to be able to use this to design. All right, so let's talk about Elementor and our building blocks and the different things we need to do. The first thing that we're going to want to do in here is we are going to want to go to the bottom left-hand corner to settings. So it's over bottom left-hand corner, it's a little gear. We're going to click on settings. And I'm going to tell it, no, we don't want to do that. Here, I could always change the name of my page. Right now it's called Home. And it's what's in my menu here. I can always change it, but I don't have to. And let's see, the important things I want to know here is that one of the first things I always do is I hide the title. So it says Home here. I don't want some ugly default WordPress way of showing the title, so I'm going to hide the title. So you see, if hide title is clicked off, it shows. When I click hide it, yes, that ugly black font is gone. Now, if I want to write title on here some way, I can do it myself using my own fonts, colors, etc. Then I'm going to want to go down to the page layout. Right now it's on default. This will generally happen. I don't want default. Most of the time I recommend working in Elementor full width. This will help us do most of the things that we would like to do in Elementor. Now I'm going to update here. Now it is possible that some of you might see the word publish here instead of update. Sometimes you can make it to a page that isn't published. Now, if you remember when I was first creating this, when I was in that kind of first where I titled it Home and I said click publish twice, if you hadn't done that, then if you'd only clicked it once, it might ask you to publish here instead of update at the bottom left. But right now I'm going to hit update because I have published it, and I'm going to update. And that's my save key. So every few minutes or when I do anything important, I'm going to hit update so I don't work for, say, 3 hours and work really hard on a page and forget to hit update, shut my computer, and find out that I've lost everything because I never updated it. So update's an important key. Now let's look at a couple things that we need to know in Elementor. So this is one of the main places we're going to be working, and yours might look a little bit different. And it might even look a lot bit different, depending on what version of the Elementor program that you have. Now, when I teach this class on campus, it is not uncommon for a few of my students to be involved in a beta test for Elementor when they have kind of some new ideas and they're not sure if they're going to launch it to everyone. So they kind of put it in some accounts, like maybe 5% of Elementor accounts, and people are using it and they don't realize they're in a beta test, but that's okay. So sometimes you might see something different than what you see here. And you know what I tell you to do? I just open another tab, I go to Google, I type in Elementor, why does such and such look different? And that will usually provide some answers. And if another reason why it might look different, if there are updates in Elementor. In my experience, Elementor updates probably 4 times a year. And most of the time, these are small updates, but every now and then they are major updates. So right now, you are going to be seeing what Elementor looks like today as I'm demonstrating. It is possible that tomorrow they could have a major update and it's going to look different. Like before, Elementor was almost always had blue. So this update button that was pink a minute ago, that was blue. This would have been blue. Everything was kind of bluish in here. Now pink is, you'll see, is kind of a predominant color. So this plus key is the main thing that we're going to want to work with. So we are going to add a new container. And I want you to think about a container as a row. So you're going to create a row in which you're going to put information and content in here. So we're going to click plus to create a new container, and it's going to ask you, do you want a flex box or a grid? And I'm going to generally use a flex box. This gives me a little bit more flexibility for me to maneuver things. A grid's a little bit more kind of predetermined and it's hard for me to customize. So I'm going to use a flex box. And then it asks me how many columns do I want in this particular row or container or structure. We can use any of those words: row, container, structure. And for this one, I am going to choose that I am just going to have 1 column in this row. All right, so now this is my new container, my new row, and I have to put something inside of it. So you'll see there's a set of buttons here in which I can edit the container. Now I don't have anything inside of it, so there's not a whole lot to edit yet, but you'll notice that the editing gives you options to edit the layout, the style, which would be kind of more colors, backgrounds, advanced, which has to do with margins, padding, which we'll talk more about later. It's how we have to move things around in WordPress, and Elementor is really clunky. You know how in Figma we could just take something and just kind of move it around anywhere? Yeah, we can't do that in WordPress. We have to use margins and padding to make those changes. All right, but we don't have anything in this row or container yet. So I'm going to click this plus button and it will bring up a menu here and it will let me choose what I would like to put in here. So in this case, I am going to say I want to put an image in here. So now it gives me this kind of default image. If I move over to the left-hand side, I can choose the image I want to put in here. And I have 2 choices. I can either choose things that I've already uploaded, or I can upload a file from my own computer. And when you're first working on this, you're likely to need to upload your own file. So let me say that I'm going to select a file and let me come to here and let me go to my development folder. Whoops, there's nothing in there. What do I need here? Find what I have. So I have some of my images here and let's choose this one. So it's uploaded it. And if you notice, I have named this, as I mentioned when we were optimizing photos for web, that we want to have these different types of words to optimize what we're doing. But I can also add some stuff here. So I could say Lee University students communicate on the chapel path, led by communication studies student Sarah Watson. And here, I could have a caption there. I could also put that as alt text, and alt text would be if somebody has a vision impairment that they could click to have that read to them. I can also put it in there. This will help us with SEO. All right, so I'm going to select it. So now you see we have a photo here. Excellent. And let's say that underneath this photo, I want to have my title, my headline. I'm going to go under here and I'm going to click that plus button again. Again, going to do a flex box, and here I'm going to say that I want one structure. I'm going to click the plus button and I'm going to go to heading, and here I'm going to type my headline. Now we're going to put our heading in there. Now I want to show you something. I went to Figma and I simply copied my heading in Figma, which is Unlocking the Power of Stories, and I have just highlighted and put it directly in here. But I want you to look at this editing panel over here. This is the content editing panel, and it has put in all of this coding. We don't want all this coding, so that can be a problem, and there's a few things that we can do to compensate for it. Probably the easiest thing is if I simply highlight and delete some of this coding. So if I highlight and I just click the delete key there, and that deleted that, and then I'm just going to delete the rest of this here. A ton of coding. Yes. So it'll just take us a second to get through, but we don't want to have all this coding in there if we don't need it. What this does is it slows down our websites. It's called bloat. So we don't want to have coding when we don't really need it. So I am now going to delete all that coding, and I'm just left with the words I want. Now right now it's not in the color I want, it is not in the font I want, it is not in the size I want, but when we're first working in Elementor, we don't care. We're doing what we call a rough-in when we first work in Elementor. We're just getting the basic building blocks in the order they should be based on our Figma website. We are really not worried about whether it looks right yet. Once we get everything loaded in, all of the photos, all of the copy, then we will work on the design part of it. All right, so the next thing I want to do in here is I need to get my subhead, and so I'm going to click a new plus sign. Flexbox, again, it's just going to be here, and I can click the plus sign. That's what I've showed you on the last two times that we clicked the plus sign. But I want to also show you there's another way we can bring up the menu of items that we can put in here. There is what I call a tic-tac-toe box. And so if I click on the tic-tac-toe box in this upper left, then that will bring up this menu. And I can actually put in another heading here, and I can change the size later again. So I could, again, highlight all of here and type directly in here, or if I go to this left-hand content editing panel, I can say Lee University Communication Arts. Sometimes I don't paste everything in. I guess I could go back to Figma and paste it, but it seemed just as easy to type it. And sometimes if you go to try to type something in over here, it won't work. Sometimes just Elementor, WordPress will not let you type over here, and if that's the case, just come over here and it should let you type in here. All right, I'm going to update this because I've added 3 elements. I don't want to lose them if something would happen. My computer sites can crash. My dog could knock my computer out of my lap, things like that. I could forget that I'm working on it, and so I want to just save while I'm thinking about it. Now, let me see if I can find my Figma page here. See what else we have. All right, the next thing we have is a set of 4 photographs here. So what I want to do, and at this point I'm not worried about this blue background color. I'm not worried about this red maroon color yet. Right now I'm getting rows in there, but again, I'm not worried about the design. I'm doing a rough-in which I'm trying to get the content into Elementor. So I now realize that I have my photo, I have my headline in there, I have my subhead. Now I want 4 photos. So let me go back to here, and I am going to go back to the plus sign, do a flex box, and have a couple ways I can do it. I could choose a 4-column structure and put my photos in here. That's one option. So actually, let's try that. And I want to show you another way of dealing with putting these different elements in. I could go over, click on image, and I can drag and drop that there. I can come here, and again, I could drag and drop. So you'll see me doing a combination. Sometimes I'll drag and drop, sometimes I will double click. If any of them don't work for you, then don't worry about it, just try one of the other methods. All right, let's go back to this first picture, and I can choose the image that I would like to have, and I'm going to have to upload here. So I'm going to select, and if you remember, I always like to have a file in which things are organized, so I know where to pick things. So I've already used that one. Now, unfortunately, my other photos aren't labeled well, sadly. So let's see. I do have, I think this picture is one of them that is in this group of 4. I think it's the last one though. You'll notice, so I can move, I can drag and drop things. Now it didn't drag and drop exactly where I wanted it to, so I'm going to do a Command Z on my Mac computer, Command Z to undo, but remember that would be either a Control Z or a Windows key Z for PC users. What I really wanted was to get it over on this side, so but it's sometimes cranky and it might not work. So sometimes I have to just say, okay, Elementor WordPress, you're mean. And instead, when I come over here, and if it won't actually move like I want it to, I may have to go over here and do that. And what I actually want here would be that classroom picture. And let's see if I have that classroom picture on my computer. I'm actually not sure if I still have it or if I've moved it somewhere else. Let's see. I might not have it. Okay, so I don't think I actually have that picture on my desktop. So I'm going to just pick 4 pictures in general to put there. They might not be the ones that are actually on my Figma site, but at least I can show you what we're doing. So let's put this in here and we'll select it for there. We'll pick another image and we are going to pick, we'll just repeat this one that I've already put above just so that we have images in here. All right, upload files, and last one we'll do another, I think this is another graduation picture. And then we'll click select, and there we are. Now what you'll notice is these are all different sizes. These would come in as the same size if I had optimized them for the web as what you were kind of taught to do in Unit 4. If you haven't optimized your photos for the web and you don't have these already sized the same size, you'll notice that they're not. So for a rough end, it's fine. We can have them here the wrong sizes, but before we would go to the design phase, we would want to optimize them and make sure that they are exactly the same dimensions, so they would come in at the same dimensions. All right, so I mentioned that was one way we could do this. The other way we could do it is we could do a grid, and we could do so we could do a 4 grid here, and we could do kind of the same thing. But actually, there's actually a different way I want to show you as well. So if I want to delete the container, all I have to do is click on the X, and that deletes the container. And so I'm going to go over here, back to Flexbox. This time I'm going to choose a 1 structure, and I'm going to choose from here that I want to do, let's see if grid is what we call it. So we can have a gallery here or a grid. And so with this grid, I can tell it how many columns I want. In this case, I just want 1 column. And, oh no, I want 4 columns, sorry. And I want 1 row. So that's another way that I can bring this in. So a couple different ways that we can work with bringing a grid in. And here you do the same thing as we were doing before. You'd bring an image in, and you could choose the image and do that for all of them. But I've already done it above, so I'm not going to work with it. What I want to do next is, let's take a look at my Figma again, and I see that I have a set of points, bulleted points I want here. So let me go back to my Elementor, click here, and I'm going to make this a two structure column. Do plus, and I'm going to do a search up here for bullet. It doesn't like bullet. Let's see if list is something. Aha, let's do what's called an icon list here. And here I really would need to do each thing separately as I did all of them. But so like if I pasted in all of them, I'd have to go back to the beginning, and I'd have to then delete the extra ones. And if I go to that second one for the text, do this, in which I'm going to erase all but the second thing. So we have art studio emphasis, we need to have art graphic design emphasis, and I'm going to just do one more. And here we're going to have, I think, education. Let's have communication, just so we have something different. All right. And so you'll see that's over here. I'm going to update it. I would, of course, add in all of them. Now, let's see if it will. See, this time it let me move it, which is great. And then I would go in and I could go back into Figma and I could copy paste the rest of them. But anyways, I could have this here. So that way I have a bulleted list, and this gave me 3. I don't want 3, I'm only going to want 2. So let's see if it will, if I click on this actual container. So couple things. If I wanted to delete this entire container, this entire pink thing, I could click the X. But if I just want to if I want to delete one of the components, I could just click in this one particular area, and if I click delete, it should go. Now I can have those two lists that I wanted. Okay, so again, I'm just doing what's called that rough in. I am putting in as many things as I can. And then we have this two-part structure, and I've copied that information there. Let me go back to Elementor. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do Flexbox 2-part. I'm going to click on the plus, and I'm going to bring text editor for body copy. This is what I use for body copy. And for this, I'm going to delete all of that information, and I'm going to put in my information here. I'm going to go over here, and I can bring the image over, and I've already uploaded this image. You saw me do it a little bit ago. So it is in my media library. So I don't need to upload this one. I just need to give my internet a second to think about this and to let it show me the different pictures that have already been uploaded. And it's going to take just a moment. You'll find that this is dependent on the internet you're using. So sometimes your internet is slow, so it's not working well. But let me also explain that your websites are on what's called a baby server. And if we get a bunch of people working on their websites at the exact same time, it can actually make a difference. And it could make your computer work slow. So I like to think of it this way. Have you ever been, this is just kind of an analogy I'm going to give you. Have you ever been in an old house where if somebody's taking a shower, they have a nice strong shower until someone flushes the toilet or turns on the kitchen sink, and then suddenly their water pressure drops? A server can be like that it can be working great, but as soon as other people get on it and are doing stuff, it affects what you're able to do. Actually, in this case, I'm going to click out of there because it is taking too long. And what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on this little element here. I'm going to do a right click. And if you don't remember how to do right clicks, I have a tutorial on that in one of the earlier units. Click on it, and I am going to say copy. Let's come down here, and I'm going to say paste. And there we go. Now pasted it below. So now I'm just going to hover over here, do a right click, and I'm going to delete that, and now my picture is here. And you'll notice it's not large enough yet, because in web design, we want everything to be neat and orderly, so I would want this sentence to be at the top of the photo, and I would want the photo to come all the way down to the bottom here. It's not there, but I'm not going to worry about it yet. All right, so this is my rough-in, and what I'd like you to do is to be working on getting all of the elements from your Figma homepage onto a homepage in here. Don't forget to click update. And then let's talk about creating a second page that will be your about page, and I also would like you to do a rough-in for that. All right, so we've updated here, so everything's saved. Again, we're not worrying about whatever design is happening. We'll fix that later. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to exit. So if I want to exit, click on that hamburger menu. I'm going to click exit down at the bottom. It's going to, the first time I exit this page, it's going to say, where do you want to go when you exit? And I always choose the dashboard, because generally most of the things I need to do are in the dashboard. And I'm going to click apply. And you'll find that sometimes it will go automatically. Other times it will give you this where it says stay on page or leave page. Now, on this case, let me show you. If I hadn't updated, I would want to click stay on page. And that's what I'm going to do. I click stay on page and I'm going to hit update one more time. Because when a message like that comes up, it's telling me that there's a problem. All right, then I'm going to go to exit. And now it happens automatically. It brings me here. So to create that new page, I'm going to go to pages. I can do add new page. And now I'm going to say about. And we're going to publish, and edit with Elementor. And now we would begin doing that rough-in of our About page from Elementor. We're going to follow the same steps. We'd go to Settings first. We will hide the title. We'll choose the page layout. And then we'll start to be bringing in our different elements. All right. So that's the job that you need to be doing right now. Good luck, and we'll talk about refining in a little bit.